Hello everyone, I thought I'd take a look at this video here showing a Russian Su-25 flight. Now, the geolocation was all done by Red Intel Panda on Twitter. The link to their Twitter is in the description, and they do amazing work with tracking Russian flights like this. I'm going to play the video in full without me talking.
Выполнили боевой полет пары по задаче нанесения авиационного удара по объектам противника. Отработали по заданным координатам в заданное время. Получили подтверждение по радиосвязи с Земли о поражении заданных объектов. После чего выполнили возврат на аэродром базирования.
So now, let's go through some screenshots. So the first screenshot here, we can see that this Su-25 is definitely looking a bit shabby. I guess months and months of combat operations are taking its toll. But it certainly looks better than many of the other Su-25s, who are up on Oryx in a smoking wreck. But the bit I want to look at is the rocket pod. So this is equipped with a B-8M1 rocket pod, which is used to launch S-8 rockets. The rocket pod can launch 20 rockets. On this screenshot, it's empty, as the pilot carries out a pre-flight check. An odd decision. I would expect it to be loaded and ready for action, so the pilot can check that too. But it could be that this was filmed beforehand and just spliced onto the video. The S-8 is this, a rocket developed in the 1970s, entering service in 1984. It has a number of warheads including heat anti-armor, high explosive fragmentation, smoke and incendiary. The range is short, most have a range of up to 4 km, with the S-80FP1 variant having a range of 6 km. Next, two screenshots. This here, showing the number 10357 on the hull of the Su-25, and the next screenshot, showing that this aircraft is Blue 17. Now Russia typically tries to block out the aircraft ID. You can see it on the tail here, bits have been blurred. But we clearly forgot to blur this one. Also, some nice wear and tear visible on this old jet here. Red Intel Panda identified this aircraft as being originally from the 37th Composite Aviation Regiment flying out of Zaporizhia Air Base in Crimea. They operate one squadron of Su-24 and one of Su-25. This aircraft used to be 03 Blue of the 37th. Now, as we'll see later with the geolocation of the maps, this isn't flying out of Zaporizhia, but rather Dzhankoi, so it may have been switched to a different unit. Now, let's check the flight. So this screenshot here, the Su-25 is going over the Heromozna River. This shows that it departed east from Dzhankoi Air Base. Here it is shown on the map. Now, let's check out part 2. Here, I'm going to replay a bit of the video. This shows its rocket run. So you can see the Su-25s are flying low and tilt up slightly when they fire. They do this so they can fire the rockets further afield and avoid entering within range of Ukraine's manpads and SAM systems. Doing it this way gives a boost to the range, but it does make the rockets less accurate and trickier to aim. Now this video has been mirrored by Russia, so things are happening on the opposite side to what they've seen. The Su-25 then banks around after its mission to head back to base. Let's check it on a map. So this occurred here, the Su-25 aiming its rockets towards the north. Zoomed out, this is south of a town called Novopokoprivka in Zaporizhia, east of Solodka. So let's now have a look at deep states and see what the territorial control of this region is. So as you can see, it fired its rockets around 4.7 kilometers from the front lines. As mentioned, the S-8 has a range of 4 kilometers, but these Su-25s fired at a slight upwards angle to increase the range. I'm not sure how much that would increase the range by, but I expect then it would be enough to get the front lines from here. I don't know what these would have been targeting. I'm guessing hitting tree lines and the like with Ukrainian positions and troops in them, or possibly the outskirts of the settlement itself if Ukraine has a presence there. In this screenshot, you can see the Su-25 loop past the defensive trench and the Dragon's Teeth. Remember, the video is mirrored, so the Su-25 is actually looping to the left. Here it is shown on the map. The distance between the firing point and the banking point is nearing 1.5 kilometers. That puts it just over 3 kilometers from the front line, and it's here when the Su-25 is at its most vulnerable, on its return. It's close to the front line and flashing its red-hot arse at the Ukrainians, and when you do that, it makes you a prime target for a heat-seeking man. Pad. Let's check the map. So this was a flight distance from Dzhankoi to the firing point of around 211 kilometers. The Su-25 is pretty much out of danger throughout. It flies through fairly safe Russian-occupied territory. The only threat to it on its journey to the firing point is from friendly fire, and from what we've seen lately, that is actually a pretty big risk with Russia. But really, it's only vulnerable when it's finished its firing mission and is heading to home. So we know Dzhankoi is operating Su-25, so the big question, can Ukraine hit it? Well, the confirmed ATACMS sent to Ukraine has a 165 kilometer range, and as we can see here, yes, HIMARS launching ATACMS from Kherson district would be able to reach Dzhankoi. And you'd have to think, smacking this base with ATACMS would be a key target for Ukraine. I mean, we saw in the video how much damage the ATACMS rockets causes to the airbase in Berdyansk and Luhansk. They destroyed over 20 helicopters. Now, taking the Su-25 out wouldn't be as important as hitting helicopters. The Su-25 is rather limited here. It has to launch its rockets at an angle, which makes them pretty inaccurate. So helicopters, such as the Kar-52, are definitely the main target. But as you can see in this graphic by Vash on Intel, Dzhankoi has been established to be home to 10 Kar-52s, 10 Mi-28s, and 24 Mi-8 helicopters. So this would be a major target. Not to mention there's a good likelihood that if an airbase in Crimea is shown to be vulnerable to ATACMS, then Russia would have the embarrassment of having to disperse the units there rather than trust their air defences. In this case, they'd probably move them to Saki, Belbek or Vardoskoye, as these currently remain out of range of 165 kilometer range ATACMS. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. If so, please click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thanks again and take care everybody.